So I'm sure you're wondering, McNally, what kind of animations are you talking about? Well, I'm not talking about these types of animations. You know, the ones where everything is happy and nice and sweet. No, I'm talking about evil animations. Welcome to my channel. For this week's video, we're gonna dive into the dark part of YouTube where bad things happen and bad people put bad videos. And I don't mean bad like, you know, those suck, but like bad like evil. Mostly just bad, really dark cartoons. For example, this channel that I found and I did a video on about a month ago. Go check that one out. I thought they couldn't find any more of these stories, but this channel did. What this channel is, a quick view, is called Actually Happened. They take stories from people who we assume they are truthful stories, and they put them into animated videos. Now, I wasn't going to do another video on them, but then these two videos popped up on my recommended, and I thought, okay, thank you, YouTube, for giving me more stuff to talk about on my channel. So the first video is my parents catfished me to control me. We've all been there. I mean, I've never been catfished, at least I don't think so, and especially by my parents, but I'm interested to see what happens.
Hello guys, I'm Madison. I know that the story I'm gonna tell you right now is really messed up. Stuff like this is far from normal, and both my parents and I are well aware of how terrible it all might sound. But this still happened.
In my experience, when people have said this is far from normal for me and my family, that usually, or for me, that usually means this kind of stuff happens all the time. So we're not buying it.
So it all started when I met a guy on Instagram. He liked some of my pictures and pretty soon DM'd me about a book I had mentioned in one of my posts. Talking to me about literature is the quick way to winning over my heart.
Hey girl, you know, I'm just into this Harry Potter stuff and it's just quite the thing, so...
You want to go date now? Who gets turned on by books? Like, I realize people may like books, but I've never known books to be a turn on for people.
I know this sounds funny, but it's true. So I replied and we started talking. His name was Sean. He was about my age.
Things you should stay away from on social media. Sean's, Brad's, Nathan's, and for some odd reason, Eddie's. Those are always like common catfish names. Those people never truly exist. They are easy catfish names for guys. For girls, things like, it's a little easier to find. Things like Tiffany, Stacy, maybe Marjorie, I guess. I don't know.
And he was cute. I just have to mention, there was no flirting coming from him throughout the whole story. He was just being nice. I was dropping hints, but he did not respond. It got me annoyed at the time, but now I feel relieved.
So we know that she's being catfished by her parents. She doesn't know it then, so essentially she's been flirting with her parents this entire time. Like, how awkward must that be to be a parent? And then how embarrassing it must be if your child doesn't have any game. I'm just sitting here, you know, texting my daughter pretending to be a 16-year-old kid. She really sucks. Can't flirt at all. I have failed as a...
Here's what was going on between my parents and I at the time. You see, my family never really understood the concept of personal space. My parents always said that there should be no secrets in our family, that we should share everything, and that we should trust each other more than we trust anybody else.
That's also the same rule for the mafia, so just wanted to put that out there.
And sometimes in my life, this approach has helped me a lot. I always found support and comfort there. And I did not know it could be any other way either, since it's always been like this. But everything changed when I turned 14. I was growing up, and most of all...
Okay, so either that's a really screwed up number one, or she's turning 74. Why does the cake look like a stack of silver dollar pancakes with pink icing on top? Like, what kind of birthday cake is that? That's a Canadian birthday cake is what that is. I don't really know that, so if you're Canadian...
It was not about doing something behind closed doors. It was more about the feeling, the psychological space, I guess. I started to not share as much with my parents. And the most basic example, I started to close the door to my room, which was open 24/7 throughout my childhood.
So her parents decide to go on this whole thing because A, she's growing up, and B, she closed her door to her room, so her parents go on this entire elaborate scheme to catfish her. I think we should be focusing more on the parents here than the kid.
My parents would walk by or come in, and I had no problem with that. Until now. And my parents did not understand. We had multiple conversations about it. Not really fights, but these talks were not pleasant. I explained to them that I needed personal space, but they acted like these two words didn't exist in the English language.
So, your parents have never been teenagers, clearly. Even when I wasn't a teenager, I didn't want my parents just walking into my room. Even when I was a kid, knock on the door. Of course, my parents never then resorted to creating a fake profile on social media than to get me to spill, like, all my deep, dark secrets.
Sean and I started texting each other. He wouldn't reply immediately like most of my friends do. Sometimes it would take him hours. But I didn't care. He seemed so much like me.
Well, it'd take them hours because your parents have to making dinner, going to work. These are parents.
It was going perfectly. He was living in another town and we never talked about meeting in real life, but I started to think about it constantly. And I know how crazy it sounds, but all of this happened within a week.
I mean, I can see maybe over the course of a month or two, but a week? Your parents must have some major game then if they can do that much damage in a week. Bravo. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, you heard that right. He just stopped texting me. He vanished. I was devastated. Am I that ugly and boring that it's just impossible to talk to me for more than a few days?
No, it's your parents, and it's creepy, and they realize how creepy it is, and they finally, thankfully, stopped.
I didn't see this coming at all. He didn't ever seem disappointed. The more I thought about it, the more complicated it got. I had never felt so bad in my life. I checked his account every day, but nothing was going on there.
Okay, this is where I would say that the parents may have taken it just a tad bit far. Oh, who am I kidding? They, like, the moon far. Like, they are out of this universe far. Your daughter is now obsessed with a boy who is pretending to be someone they're not, and it's your problem. Like, parents try and protect their kids from this, and now her parents have just gone and done it. Also, a little bit clingy, don't you think?
One day, both of them took the day off just for us to drive to the beach, which is not too far away from our town, and spend the day together. All day I thought about how lucky I was to have parents like this. A little later, after...
Little does she know. Well, I mean, not clearly lucky enough to have parents who trick you on the internet, so.
After some fresh air, I did feel a little better, so I decided to investigate. He only had a handful of followers, and this was the first time I had checked on who these people were.
That's the one thing about girls, especially when trying to figure out stuff about guys. They are like world-class detectives. They will find crap about you that you thought you had left in your past. They will find it.
And they were just some spam accounts. And I have to mention that he only had a few pictures on his account. And on second thought, they were pretty generic. Like a picture of a sunset, the book he texted me about. Not much, really. And don't judge me.
So none of this rang any bells in her head. It's pretty clear that this was like a fake account.
One day, my dad came home with a present. It was a very rare record player that I wanted for a very long time. This was the moment that I finally felt happy, and I spent the whole evening in my room listening to music.
Like, I already know that somehow her parents found out she wanted this because she had been sharing it with the boy she thought she was texting.
The old ones that had been broken a long time ago, and this one was so expensive that I had not even thought about telling my parents I wanted it. It was that thought that struck me. There were hundreds of record players out there, and my dad brought me exactly the one I dreamt of. Well, the only person who I sent the link to was Sean.
Just call me detective. I mean, seriously, you have Sherlock Holmes, you have Detective Pikachu, and now you can call me Detective McNally. I just cracked the case wide open, so you're welcome.
The whole puzzle seemed to fall into place. I did not have any other evidence, but the mere thought of it was so shocking I got hysterical. I rushed to my parents' bedroom in tears, screaming.
You know, in all fairness, she didn't knock on their door either.
Listened to me sleepily. My mom started saying that it was just a coincidence that could easily happen. And my dad covered his face with his hands and screamed that it was all them. Well,
so much for all that trusting in each other and wanting to be close with one another.
I started screaming that they were sick and that I didn't want to be their daughter anymore. They were just miserable. At one moment, I felt so exhausted that I just sat down on the floor and covered...
Quite a weird way to stand when you're exhausted. Looks like you have to go pee or something.
So the story was that when my approach to personal space had changed, they panicked. They couldn't understand what was going on, so they imagined the worst. Like there was something I needed to hide, something terrible, of course. And I still can't believe it, but they had this plan. Creating a fake account and texting me on behalf of another teenager. You know the rest. Over that week, they continued to feel worse and worse.
So their whole plan was because their teenage daughter, who was a teenager, didn't want to talk to them anymore. And this was their only way of talking to her, I guess. She just wanted a little personal space, so they thought, we're going to go create a fake account on a social media and pretend to be a teenage boy so our daughter can talk. Like, I get that we've just kind of glossed over it. Like, your parents just played you and debated you real hard.
They felt ashamed and disgusted. As my dad told me later, they didn't think it would be that terrible when they started it.
Your parents clearly are not that smart. I mean, what other outcome did they think was going to happen? They were just going to be Sean forever, and then Sean disappears by falling down a well. Their daughter all of a sudden wants to talk to them again? No.
After I found all of this out, I did not speak to them for several days. After all, they were really sorry, and they realized pretty quickly that it was a mistake. And all of us make mistakes. Now, we are fine.
So basically the moral of that story is, if you turn 14 and want space, your parents most likely will create a fake account and pretend to be a teenage boy in order to get your attention, which is, I guess everything just turned out fine and everyone lived happily ever after, and there was no need for any type of therapy. So all in all, these videos, this is YouTube now, I guess, what YouTube deems as great content, seeing as these videos seem to show up on the trending page every other day. That's what you have on YouTube now. Great, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. And hit that subscribe button. And hit that bell notification so you know when I post new videos, which is every Friday. I will see you guys next week with a brand new video. Bye.